Hello again. And today we'll be taking a look at the 1992 Sony Pictures released Bram Stoker's Dracula. Now, we've seen vampire movies enough to know the basic premise of Dracula. He's the vampire. He is the king of vampires. And what I like that this movie does, it doesn't really do all the cliches that we've known throughout the Hammer horror movies, especially some of which that have been done by the legendary Sir Christopher Lee, which, by the way, you're a legend, my friend. With this one, we get the services of Gary Oldman playing Dracula. Now, it's an interesting choice, considering some of the roles he's played, of him to play a character that's actually based on the real historic figure of Vlad the Impaler, which is what Bram Stoker based the character off to begin with. And you get the sense at times that Oldman is enjoying this movie and this role a little too much, because he sort of invests himself emotionally in this role. And what I like that they do, they don't necessarily play Dracula completely to be this monster. Yes, he does do all the little things like prey on victims by biting their necks, sucking their blood, turning innocent human beings into the armies of the walking undead. What they also do, they also play him as being somewhat of a sympathetic character, because his love, Elizabetha, was fed false information and she took her own life, and of course, not really taking too kind, renounces his faith in God and actually goes through a process of actually becoming immortal and becoming an undead figure. The supporting cast that go along with it, Winona Ryder, this is probably one of the few movies that got her on the map, and she's actually good as Mina, and she's actually one of the few American actresses that can pull off a somewhat convincing English accent, particularly during Victorian times. Richard E. Grant, he's very charismatic, and he's got these little quirks that make it work throughout his movies, and he plays a good role. Anthony Hopkins, good lord, how many times do you chew a scene up?
Let your eyes see nor your ears hear that which you cannot account for.
Something just went up there, sucked it out of her, and flew away, I suppose.
Yeah, why not?
As you may have seen from part 1 when I reviewed 2010's The Wolfman, there's not a scene where he's not chewing the scene. Even as a human being, he's able to do that much in human form as he can do in werewolf, but chewing as a werewolf is a completely different set of circumstances as opposed to a human part. Keanu Reeves, I like this guy in Bill and Ted. I liked him in the first Matrix. Matrix 2 was a little confusing. Matrix 3 made up for it. But he is terrible in this movie. He doesn't really pull off the English accent too well. I get the sense he was kind of forcing it a little bit, and when you try to force it, it doesn't come off so well. In some of the physical fighting scenes as Jonathan Harker, he's good, but I don't know. Sadie Frost is good as Mina's sister or friend, whichever your interpretation is. She plays a good role as being the very flirty young lady. Is it Carrie Hughes? Because this is also the same guy that played the lead role in The Rocketeer and was Jerry in Liar Liar. Now, I did not know that until checking out Wikipedia. Wikipedia for all your information needs. And he was good. I thought he played a rather convincing role. The guy who plays Renfield, he was enjoying this way too much. And I mean way too much.
How are you feeling tonight?
Far better than you, my lovesick doctor.
Is my personal life of interest to you?
Of course it is. All life interests me.
The the special effects that they do, where they do these like really sort of, these kind of angles where you can actually see the vampires crawling backwards up the walls. And this is something that Random DCE mentioned to me a while ago. There aren't enough movies now that actually set the mood properly, because since everything's gone to high definition, you can see things clearly. But when you look at movies like, for example, the first Die Hard in 1987, or the first Ninja Turtles in 1990, there's this really sort of hazy and very, you know, obscure lighting and picture, and you couldn't really tell what was lurking in the dark. And this movie does deliver this to a similar extent, considering this was only 2 to 3 years removed from Ninja Turtles. And they actually do a good job of it. The writing, they do set it quite well in that time period. And the prosthetics that they do for when you get Gary Oldman as ancient looking Dracula, where he's literally old, which The Simpsons copied when they had Bart Simpson's Dracula, which was actually one of their better Halloween mini episodes. And then you can see Oldman as young man Dracula, or Dracula, you know, as looking like a university professor, if you will. Do it perfectly. It's when they do little things where he's able to shapeshift into a wolf-like creature, or he's able to morph into some of these really intimidating forms. It's where the special effects and the makeup department really do excel, because the creepy factor for this, it's definitely up there with, you know, with similar vampire movies like John Carpenter's vampires from either 1999 or 2002, correct me if I'm wrong. And it kind of takes the Dracula format back to how it should be, how Bram Stoker wrote it, because there have been so many interpretations of Dracula before, whereas this one, as like I said, they go straight back to the book. That's how it's supposed to be. And, you know, as like I say, going back to say how he's a sympathetic character, he's just looking for his long-lost love. That's all he's trying to do. I mean, yeah, he's had to do some despicable and you know, terrible things to be able to cross time to actually find Elizabetha reincarnated as Mina. But he, as far as his perspective is concerned, look, I love this woman that much. I want to find her again. Now, since it's been 21 years removed since this movie has been released, and there's been and of course the vampire genre is a huge thing again. As I said in episode 19 of Ask the Night, which you can watch over at blip.tv/TheMJKnight, you'll notice that Moonlight was a good little series in 07 and 08, but they cancelled it, and right around the corner, Twilight and the Vampire Diaries. Really? But yeah. Bram Stoker's Dracula is one of those movies that if you want to see the true story of Dracula, this is where you gotta find it. Now, as a regular rating on special features, I'm gonna give it, dang, that was good. Because it is so worth it. Until next time, enjoy.